Welcome, aviation enthusiasts and curious minds alike. Today we delve into the chilling account of the Tenerife Airport disaster, the deadliest aviation accident in history. It was a day like any other on March 27, 1977, until it wasn't. The tranquil island of Tenerife, off the coast of Spain, was about to witness a catastrophe that would go down in aviation history. Los Rodeos Airport, now known as Tenerife North Airport, was the stage for this tragic event where two Boeing 747 jumbo jets, KLM Flight 4805 and Pan Am Flight 1736, were involved in a devastating collision on the runway. This collision didn't just result in damage to the aircraft, it led to an astonishing loss of life. With 583 fatalities, it was a disaster that shook the world, raising serious questions about safety procedures in aviation. Stay with us as we unravel the sequence of events that led to this tragic incident. On the morning of March 27, 1977, passengers of KLM Flight 4805 and Pan Am Flight 1736 were oblivious to the catastrophe waiting to unfold. The day had dawned like any other, but the weather at Los Rodeos Airport in Tenerife had quickly taken a turn for the worse. A thick blanket of fog was slowly enveloping the airport, reducing visibility to a bare minimum. Despite the challenging conditions, the airport was bustling with unusual activity. Los Rodeos was not meant to handle such traffic, but a bomb explosion at Gran Canaria Airport had forced many flights, including KLM 4805 and Pan Am 1736, to divert to this smaller airport. The result was an overcrowded airport scrambling to manage an unexpected influx of aircraft. In the midst of this chaos, the foggy conditions were only exacerbating the confusion. Communication between the cockpit and the control tower was becoming increasingly strained. The tower was struggling to keep track of all the planes on the ground, while the pilots were trying to navigate through the fog, relying heavily on instructions from air traffic control. But as the fog thickened, the room for error was shrinking. Miscommunication started to creep in, creating a recipe for disaster. The KLM pilot, misunderstanding instructions from the tower, started to taxi down the runway while the Pan Am flight was still on it. Simultaneously, the Pan Am crew, lost in the fog and unable to see the runway clearly, missed their turnoff. They were struggling to locate the correct taxiway, unaware that the KLM jet was barreling down the same runway. The air traffic control tower, equally blind in the fog, was unaware of the impending collision. As the fog swallowed the runway, the control tower lost sight of both planes. The usual checks and balances that would prevent such a disaster were rendered ineffective by the weather and the unusual circumstances. A deadly combination of factors was aligning, setting the stage for the unimaginable. As the fog thickened, visibility deteriorated rapidly, creating a deadly blind spot on the runway. The day was March 27, 1977, a day that would forever be etched into aviation history. Thick fog blanketed Los Rodeos Airport in Tenerife, reducing visibility to near zero. The stage was set for a tragedy of unprecedented magnitude. On the runway sat two colossal birds of steel, a KLM Boeing 747 and a Pan Am Boeing 747. The KLM plane, eager to take flight, revved its engines in anticipation. However, due to a grave miscommunication, the KLM crew believed they had clearance for takeoff. What they didn't realize was that the Pan Am plane was still taxiing on the same runway, obscured by the dense fog. As the KLM plane barreled down the runway, the Pan Am crew caught sight of the incoming aircraft's landing lights. Realization dawned, but it was too late to avert the impending disaster. The Pan Am pilots desperately tried to steer their jumbo jet off the runway, while the KLM crew attempted to lift their plane into the air. Eyewitness accounts from the day paint a chilling picture of the horror that unfolded. The roar of engines, the cries of alarm, the sickening crunch of metal on metal as the KLM plane collided with the Pan Am jet. Flames erupted, consuming both aircraft in an inferno of jet fuel and twisted metal. The confusion and terror during the collision were palpable. Survivors recount the chaos, the screams of fear, the desperate scramble for safety. A scene of what should have been an ordinary day at the airport turned into a nightmare of unimaginable proportions. In a matter of seconds, 583 lives were extinguished, marking the Tenerife Airport disaster as the deadliest aviation accident in history. The echoes of that fateful day serve as a stark reminder of the importance of clear communication and stringent safety protocols in aviation, a tragedy that will forever be remembered, a lesson that will forever be learnt. The aftermath of the Tenerife Airport disaster sent shockwaves through the global aviation community. The magnitude of the tragedy was felt far and wide, casting a pall over the world of flight like never before. In the immediate wake of the collision, rescue and recovery efforts were launched, illuminating the harsh reality of the situation. The loss of 583 lives was not just a statistic, it was a stark reminder of the human cost of errors and miscommunications. As the dust settled, the aviation industry was left with a daunting task to learn from this catastrophe and ensure that such a disaster would never happen again. This led to sweeping changes in aviation safety protocols on a global scale. Communication between air traffic control and pilots was standardized, with a greater emphasis on clarity and confirmation to avoid any misunderstanding. In the cockpit, procedures were overhauled. The concept of cockpit resource management was born out of this disaster, fostering a culture of teamwork and communication among flight crew members. This was a shift from the traditional hierarchical structure, empowering every crew member to voice their concerns and observations. This tragic event forever changed the face of aviation, prompting a renewed commitment to safety and prevention. The lessons learned from Tenerife in 1977 are still ingrained in the procedures and practices of today, serving as a somber reminder of the cost of complacency. The Tenerife Airport disaster serves as a stark reminder of the importance of communication, vigilance, and safety protocols in aviation. Today, we've explored the events of that fateful day, the collision that claimed 583 lives, and the lessons learned in its aftermath. It underscores the significance of constant vigilance, clear communication, and adherence to safety protocols in aviation. Thank you, dear viewers, for joining us on this journey. Please subscribe, share, and comment to help spread awareness about this important piece of aviation history.